40 years ago today. 28th of November, 1983, the first Now That's What I Call Music album was released.
Oh, yes.
Brought by you?
I was number 3. Never
number
got the
3.
first one.
I think it's the first one, OK.
First song on that first album.
Oh, but look.
Can't hurry,
look,
gods. Yeah,
look.
they're mine.
They are actually your nows.
My nows from back in the day. I couldn't find 3
You've
or
kept
6.
them all.
Yeah.
You kept them all.
They're little time capsules of memories, aren't they?
Well, he says he kept them all. He got his mum to keep them all and clog up her house.
I don't have a record player anymore or a cassette player. I have a pencil, though, to rewind them.
But they were classics, weren't they? And
they were.
Yeah.
But when you couldn't afford your own music, they were a little way of just having a little selection. And they're all memories through time. Each one will spark off something that you remember back then.
So true.
It's true. We're going to talk about this now because it is the first of there's 100 and something of those Now What I Call Music albums. The very first one had UB40, had Bonnie Tyler,
Brilliant.
had everyone.
Yeah, I mean, some of the songs are... we've been playing them this morning, haven't we? They're amazing. Compilations have been coming ever since. Now, number 116 it is.
Now, let's have a listen.
I mean, now that's what I call music. Right, that's the name of the album, right? And listen, it's 30 of the year's Tabaroniest hits. It's fantastic. OK, this is what you get out of the 30. You get listening, right?
Shine, shine, hush, hush, I know I do. Shine, shine, hush, hush. And now it tells me to the moon. How do I get to
riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone.
Matt's got all of those. The whole lot.
So have you.
No, I haven't, but I did get number 1 on cassette. Do you remember those double cassettes? You opened it one way one side and one side the other side. We're joined now by the singer Limahl, who is the former lead vocalist, of course, of Kajagoogoo, and Adam Martin, a Now album collector and YouTuber who's got all his albums there on the sofa behind him. Morning to both of you. Limahl, you were on that very first Now That's What I Call Music as a solo artist and with Kajagoogoo.
Yeah, so we got 2 bites of the cherry. And I think for EMI Records, of course, that was great for them. You know, there was a collaboration between the 2 major labels who came up with this this project, and it was a perfect way to get your music to maybe not your usual dedicated audience. In a way, it would be like being added to a playlist today that has a big following. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did you realise at the time that there would then be another one and another one, and that they would then just keep going?
No, because I've got the CD here.
Oh.
It doesn't have number 1 on it. It's Now That's What I Call Music. That's it. No numbers. So I think they were hoping, obviously.
Yeah, and the rest is music history. Adam, have you got the first one? You must have multiple copies of the first one.
I do have the first one, yes. I've got it right here for you on vinyl. So Here's the first one. It's even got its original price sticker. I think they sold for £6.45. So God knows how much that is nowadays. But I mean, it's part of the appeal, isn't it? I mean, you get all the artists involved in the letters there, and just some of the tracks on here stack up so well, as you mentioned, like Phil Collins, Duran Duran, UB40, Limahl, of course, himself, Kajagoogoo. It's a solid first album to kick off the whole series.
So, Adam, what made you want to start to collect them? What got you so interested and kept you interested all this time?
Well, I think anyone in the last 40 years always remembers their first Now album. And mine is actually this one, Now 70, which I got at Christmas 2008. I was 12 years old.
You're so young, Adam. You're so young.
I know. For anyone who's been following Now since 1983, I do apologize, but this is my first Now. And for me, this had all the tracks of like that summer. It was, and as mentioned, it was such a way when you didn't have much disposable income as a kid to really get a good selection of, the current chart hits at the time, long before streaming was accessible. And I think for me, I was always a collector, even since being really small. My parents can attest to that for my sins. Mm-hmm. And I think because this was a numbered thing, I thought, right, this is 70. That means there's 69 more that I don't have. And now I've got to go and find them. So then over the next 15 years, I gradually built up this collection. Some of them are behind me, as you can see. It's not all of them, but I have managed in some format or another to get all 116 of the main numbered Nows, but then they've gone into a whole territory of spin-offs, which I think is great. I mean, it's obviously fantastic to have the current chart music, but they've divulged into all sorts: power ballads, reggae, classical music. Like the list is endless.
Adam, we're watching now your own footage of all your front covers. This is mesmerising to watch. We're watching our lives flash in front of us here.
Yeah, I think it holds a great nostalgia for people, even though, whether you were there in 1983 or even those like myself who came along a lot later.
Yeah,
I think
whatever.
I'm sorry. But I think even those, I've got friends who, are fully onto the streaming train. They claim they don't buy physical media anymore. But whenever there's a new Now out or they see it on like an advert on the TV or in the shops, they still take, a vague interest in it. So I think it's worked its way into British culture as being like the definitive album, the definitive way almost to get the last 2 or 3 months of whatever's been popping off on the charts.
So, Limahl, how much of an impact do you think these albums might have had on your career, on getting your music out to people who, like you said, might not have heard it otherwise?
I think are really important, that you're listening to, you might just have it on in the background. You might not be a fan of certain artists, and then it comes on and you think, oh, actually, that's quite good. So, yeah, I think it was important. Of course, it helped sales, if you like. And the whole brand went global. And so suddenly you've got audiences from around the world as well.
But was it a little bit frustrating, Limahl, that people were maybe only hearing a snapshot of your music and buying it on a compilation of other artists rather than actually hearing your album, your collection, as you really wanted it to be heard?
On the contrary. No, and also with Kajagoogoo, that year was our breakthrough year. So suddenly we found ourselves on this album, this breakthrough album, along with all our contemporaries. It felt like an honor, really, like a badge you were wearing. And, I see my picture on the sleeve there, and I'm very proud of it.
So, too right you should be. Loads of you getting in touch this morning with your memories of Now albums. I think we've got some comments coming through. We've had one here from Martin Burgess-Moon in Plymouth. Good morning, Martin. He says he got, there you go, his first album for Christmas when he was 11, but his favourite was that one, Now 10, which came out in 1987, which had Pet Shop Boys, Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé, Barcelona. A classic, a classic.
Yes, we've also got Kirsty, who's been in touch. She is showing her first Now album. That's number 5. That was on tape, obviously. She was 5 years old when it was released. But guess what? She still listens to it now with her own family.
Good for you. And Polly's been in touch. Polly Perkins in Sheffield. This is her collection. Look, she's got even more than Matt. She said, although her dad was passionate about classical music and jazz, he also used to tape the top 10 from the wireless. I remember doing that, Sal. And then had a Now record every Christmas. That's what the Pig in Shades was all about. That's right, that was the logo, wasn't it? A pig in shades was on the... do you remember? I don't know what that was about.
You remember this much more clearly than I do.
It. Nothing else to do. Nothing else to do.
You were a real
Limahl, you've been releasing new tracks for Christmas as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a Christmas track out at the moment called One Wish for Christmas. I always wanted to write a song about London, and we put it in a Christmas song.
Well, I'm feeling quite Christmassy. Let's hear a little bit.
One wish for Christmas, gotta be with you. One wish for Christmas, baby, just us two.
That's beautiful.
That could go on now. That's what I call Christmas. 5,622.
There might be one, you never know.
Adam, do you
I
have
might not be around for that one.
We'll all be there. Adam, do you have a favourite Now That's What I Call Music?
Oh, there's so many to choose from, but I think one of my favourites might seem a bit unorthodox. But one of your viewers just mentioned there that their parents enjoyed classical and jazz music. Well, fear not, dear viewer, because Now has got those covered for you. Now That's What I Call Relaxing Classical, and Now That's What I Call Jazz. And I think when these came out, they came out a few years ago, and you associate now with pop charts, what's modern, what's current. But I think it's great that they also like to dip their toes into genres like these, because it opens up doors for whole new audiences to enjoy it. Like I'd heard a smattering of classical and jazz and all that, but never to the depth that Now's gone to. So I'd say these two are some of my favourites, but I've got a soft spot for power ballads.
That's my favourite. Adam, you've just mentioned my favourite, the power ballads. Winner.
The power, don't worry, I've
there
got
he's
you
got
covered.
that to hand as well. There we go.
Yes, and don't worry, if you're a sports fan, there's something for you too. There's a football one. Now That's What I Call Footy. So everyone's covered.
How many have there been, Adam?
Oh, there's a question. Several hundred if you count the spin-offs. There's 116 of the main ones, but if you tally up all the spin-offs, definitely, I'd say somewhere between 400, 500, I guess. There's tons.
Wow.
Well, Adam, thank you for sharing your enthusiasm. And Limahl, you were there right at the very beginning. You were on number one.
Making history.
Yeah.
And good luck with the Christmas song, Limahl. It's great to talk to you. And Adam, thank you. Great to see you both. Keep that collection going. I think you will.
I think you will.
Yeah.